And just like everything else, we've minimized all the billions of unique experience into a few and said that's the standard of happiness.
Yeah.
And many of us feel we can't get there. I think that disconnect and that constant need to strive to get those certain things that define happiness is keeping us anxious.
Yeah. I read something the other day about, or was it somebody's experience about, which we've obviously spoken about a lot, is being happy during the process instead of just waiting for that goal. And then once that goal is achieved, it's there for a second or two, and then it's disappearing from our lives. So, like, how do you enjoy that daily level of comfort and happiness and being at that not 99%?
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Lovely to have you with us for another episode talking about the things that we talk about, like coffee and beer. And on that note, I want to lead by asking you this question, which I was thinking about this morning. Nivi, which is your favorite emotion?
Happiness?
I thought as much.
Yeah. What's yours?
Not happiness.
Then?
That's what I was thinking, because we're so conditioned to crave that feeling of happiness, right? The industries that are based on happiness, like books and podcasts and meditation apps, and they're all kind of focusing on how to make you happy. And I realized I have no issue with being happy. It's just that I don't enjoy it as much as maybe I should, because there are moments when I'm
You're not
like,
answering my question, though.
no, let me tell you why I'm leading up to it, man. This is not like a 60-second podcast. Let me feel what I'm saying.
Okay.
So the reason why I don't enjoy happiness is because I'm scared it's going to end. So it's not just happiness, right? Like, I think this is any positive feeling, if you want to call it, like whether it's a sense of abundance or a sense of things are going right. I'm worried when they're going to go wrong or when they're going to end. And as a result, I think the state I enjoy being in is, after a nice, I love a yoga class which has got everything in it, right? Like breathing, it's got like pranayama, it's got little chanting, it's got movement. And at the end, like, that sense of kind of being calm and collected, where you don't react on, that volatile feeling is gone. Like, you're not reacting to everything, but you're more, you're able to accept things that come your way. I mean, that sensation lasts anywhere between 3 seconds on a good day to maybe even less.
But how would you define that? What word would you use to describe that feeling?
I don't have a word. That's why I'm using multiple words.
The reason I'm asking is because that also can be happiness.
Yeah, I mean, I call it more sense of being fulfilled. Not even fulfilled. Maybe it's a combination of a sense of calm, a sense of peace, a sense of like inner collectedness. Balance is a tough word, but none of these are like typical emotions.
Comfort.
Comfortable, yeah.
Yeah.
But because 99.9% of the other time, is that the right sentence? Yeah. I'm anxious. So I've realized.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it is then. So it's basically calmness in your physical body and mind.
That's the same thing, body and mind for me. But you're right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I was thinking, if I'm only getting that for 0.1% of the day and 99.9% of the time, besides that I'm anxious, shouldn't I start enjoying feeling anxious?
No.
I think it's good, because anxiety is also a system built into you to kind of keep you alert to your environment, to what's going on, what you're doing, why you're doing that. And it is a coping mechanism. It's also an alert system. It's a warning system, but can also be your kind of a compass point in you.
But I don't think your nervous system requires that anxiety all the time. So like it'll have other repercussions. Like your immunity may get affected, or you may not make the best decisions. So like, it's not necessarily good to be anxious all the time.
But at the same time, is it good to be happy all the time?
No.
Okay, define happiness for yourself. I think that's a nice
That's
thing to
what that's
understand.
why I asked you how you would define that, what feeling you have after yoga, is because I feel happiness is also that for me. It's not necessarily like grinning from ear to ear, or I don't know. It's not. It's being it's being comfortable. It's being excited. It's being
In the moment.
in the moment. It's laughing about something. So like happiness could be, playing with Shasa and doing like some stamp work and she cracking a joke or saying something. That is happiness. Like,
Right, because I feel there's this thing people allude to, right? Like being happy somehow by a certain standards feels unattainable for many of us.
that's because you're saying there are a lot of people that are 99% of the time anxious. So they're craving that. They don't know what it feels like. Because
Also, I think
99% of that time.
there's a unique expression of happiness, right? It's not a, I feel it's
Correct.
not a state, it's not so much a feeling, but it's more of an experience. And as a result, when you kind of look at it from my own unique journey or my own unique way of absorbing the world, living the world, it has its own unique form of happiness, an expression
Exactly.
or an experience of happiness.
Everybody feels it differently. Everybody defines
Exactly.
happiness differently.
And just like everything else, we've minimized all the billions of unique experience into a few and said that's the standard of happiness.
Yeah.
And many of us feel we can't get there. I think that disconnect and that constant need to strive to get those certain things that define happiness is keeping us anxious.
Yeah. I read something the other day about, or was it somebody's experience about, which we've obviously spoken about a lot, is being happy during the process instead of just waiting for that goal. And then once that goal is achieved, it's there for a second or two, and then it's disappearing from our lives. So, like, how do you enjoy that daily level of comfort and happiness and being at that not 99%?
I think it's also again, like everything else, it's a point of reflecting on what you want in your life and what you don't want in your life, because this whole thing of you are truly a unique individual with everything is such a powerful way of looking at yourself, because the moment you take away that power from your experience in its entirety, right, you are kind of trying to be someone else.
Yeah.
Or rather trying to live someone else's version of your life, or if you want to call it the truth. And as a result, that immediately the disconnect starts happening. And as the disconnect grows with you and everything, right? Like, say, it could be the habits people call bad, or the habits people call good, or the things that make you curious, the things that make you smile, or the things that make you feel calm. Everyone has a combination of everything that goes into them, right? Some of these things might overlap. You and I might like gymming or swimming or going to the beach, but these are two things that are common to us. The other 99% or whatever could be so vastly different. But to have a shared experience, where now if it's two people, it's two, if it's three people, as the number of people grow, we kind of try to make it into a common pool. Or you like eating Asian food or something like that, But I feel in all aspects of our life, if we try to ignore what makes us with all the strengths, all the weaknesses, all the quote unquote good and bad, if we kind of take away all of that and just try having experiences because we can share it with others, I feel that causes a lot of disconnect. But if you're doing that, I feel you should also come back and say, okay, I do enjoy cocktails with my friends, but I also enjoy other things, being a little reclusive. I also enjoy knitting or whatever it could be, right? I'm saying I don't have the answer to this, but I feel the disconnect is causing a lot of these, the sense of loneliness, a sense of longing or a lack of belonging, because you aren't able to meet those quote unquote criteria for a shared experience to be fulfilling.
Or the need that you have, like you're not able to get access to that, so you're kind of always compromising and doing things that are not necessarily something that give you that much happiness or joy or whatever.
Yeah, because it's seen as, oh, why would you do that for fun?
Yeah, like knitting, for example, can be shat on in so many ways because of its typical notion that only old people do it or whatever. But like maybe it
What are some of
brings
the other
somebody.
things? I mean, some of the things that I do might seem like I was thinking as what should I do as a father to be a better parent or a better father for Shasa, right? And I was thinking, oh, I should be more involved.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Spend time with her.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Like that's all she needs.
I know, but you're giving me an answer which you think is right. Now, my point is, I have to figure out what I want to do as a father for her without trying to conform to the standards that society has imposed, right? Like, oh, fathers have to do this. You have to read out a book. You have to this thing. I'm like, if I can find something which is something I really enjoy, and it doesn't necessarily have to be what is recommended by the experts, then won't that make it much more unique or much more of a connection with her, because she'll realize this is the one thing my dad and I do.
Yeah, which is fine. It's great if you can find that. But
Yeah, I think it's a great...
but overarching, the main thing is just being there with her all the time. The reason why I'm saying giving you that answer is because it's a simple thing to do.
It's not necessarily...
It may not be unique
it's
because
not
everybody,
simple
like
to
for
me.
connection, what do you do, right?
Not
For
necessarily.
connection,
That's
you
my
spend
point.
time with each other.
You're recommending something that you've also read. It's maybe
No.
something you enjoy. But maybe I don't enjoy that much time, but maybe a smaller amount of time I'm able to pack in more of a connection.
I don't know.
See, that's the thing, because you disagree and you're automatically feeling like, oh, you know what, he's already like let me down because he doesn't agree with me.
No,
and this is where I feel
said I don't know. I don't know if that's what will
I get a
make
sense that you're
connection.
disappointed.
Well, I don't know if that's what will make that connection stronger with your child or not. And it's up to you to figure it out and try it then.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's something you have to figure out what works for you. And see, already there's a disconnect and you're feeling like, oh, you know, you're getting defensive, which is fine because that's how you react. But I think...
I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, do something then. That's
Okay.
that's what the reaction means.
Yeah, because it doesn't suit you, the reaction.
No.
Yeah, the answer, you didn't like the answer.
I'm okay with the answer as long as you spend time with her. It doesn't matter if it's
Again, your time, yeah.
5 minutes or 10 minutes or 1 hour or 20 hours.
Fair enough. Okay. Because I wanted to talk about emotional maturity, which clearly it's a great lead-in, right? Because you just displayed it in its truest form, lack of. But why are we given certain benchmarks to achieve? Because see, I think first of all, achieving is great. I think it's the way for us to explore our human potential. But there's this thing which I was talking to Vishnu, who's a friend, you know, I do yoga with, and he was talking about, he put it actually quite nicely. He said, the problem now we are facing is the lack of separation between mind and money. It's too tied up. Because money is a great tool. We need it in various levels and amounts to kind of experience life and to get stuff done, to eat and to travel and to take care of our health and education, whatnot, multiple uses of money. But we've become a society that is so conditioned to associate the way we feel with the amount of money we have. And as a result, again, coming back to that point of happiness, we always say money is one of the biggest criteria to be happy. But can we separate the two? Like, this is where the disconnect is important, right? Like, can you have a pursuit of achievements which result in making money, or a pursuit of a career, or pursuit of all these other various boxes that indicate success or achievement, or which are resulting in money, which then you can then use for your life?
I think that's the direction we're headed in, and I feel like a lot of people are thinking like that nowadays, especially post-COVID. Like, there are a lot of people who are pursuing their passion and doing what they want to do on a freelance basis, or, you know, doing things that really fill them, instead of just sticking to what it was pre-COVID, which is like everybody gets a 9-to-5 job and does whatever so that we make money and make ends meet. But now I feel like there are a lot more people who are really just being particular about the kind of work they want to do. Even I've noticed that with my team, like, they come and say, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Like,
I get that, and I think it's a great shift. Did you break the chair? So great shift,
Come on,
I think,
Sandeep.
in direction, in the way of thinking. But I'm coming from another place, which is there isn't a black and white transition in this, right? Because while people are pursuing their passion, while people are doing what they want and they're clear about it, there is still a very strong motivation from money. Because if you don't, like, say you really enjoy making art on Instagram, right? Eventually that ends up as, I'm not saying that person alone, but there is a big motivation, and this is not over the past 3-4 years, COVID or pre-COVID. This has been in our, I think, generationally.
But we
that-
do need money to.
Exactly, but I'm not talking about what you alluded to with the passion thing. I'm talking about the mind-money connection is so strong that for an individual, it's almost like you get the money first and then you look at your state of mind. Like, I'm talking about emotional maturity in this context, where you have people who are CEOs, who run massive teams, who might even have huge responsibilities, and they are seen as success stories by society because of the positions they hold, the
But they're
titles they
not
hold.
great mentally.
Not mental health. They're not able to deal with the emotional states that come on a daily basis with family, or as a parent, or as a son, or as a daughter. And why is that? Why are we prioritizing one over the other?
I think you kind of come into this like family structure or whatever, expecting to take care of the rest of the family. So if your priority, I guess it varies based on your individual, based on the season of life that you're in, because at some point that becomes your priority, and it's very, very difficult to prioritize everything, right? Like, it's difficult to take care of all aspects of your life. So like, I think it's about understanding what is a priority at that point and when does it become an obsession. Maybe that's what is, that when you kind of get lost along the way. So maybe it's about just kind of reflecting what is important to you at that point, like, and then prioritizing, reprioritizing. And I really like this concept of understanding that you go through different seasons of your life. So like every few years or every year or whatever the time period is, you go through different seasons of your life. So you have different priorities, you have different things that are important to you, because you have only those 24 hours in a day. So what do you fill that up with? We all do need to work, and we all do need to make money to live the life that we want to lead. Like, I want to have the luxuries of life. So if I want to have the luxuries of life, I need to focus on that to make sure I make that money, right?
Yeah, because I think until you establish or give yourself that chance to understand why you want to make that money, or rather what you want to experience first in life, I think that conversation is important to have with yourself. Otherwise, you get pulled in so many different directions, because then, just like someone else's idea of happiness, someone else's idea of what it means to have money and what that money should do for you is constantly being the rug's like pulled out from under you, right?
Yeah.
Because today you're like, you know what, this is enough. I'm able to send my kid to this school, or I'm able to go for this. But no, that's not enough.
There's never enough, I
So
guess.
that's the mind-money connection. If it's too strong,
Yeah.
then you are never happy with or content with, or it's never enough.
Yeah. So I think, again,
Because-
it just boils down to enjoying every moment of your
It's
life.
difficult to enjoy every moment of your life. You might
is.
say it because
No,
you
I know,
listen
I
to
know.
all the right inputs about that. But
I'm not saying I do. I'm just
No, for
saying that
anyone, if
the
you listen to-
solution seems like that.
no, every self-help book or podcast is saying that, like, enjoy every moment, don't look back, look forward, all that. The shit they say sometimes makes you feel like your experience is not valuable, and that you're doing something wrong in life to not have that sense of,
So then you're like trying to work towards having that
Version.
enjoy that moment in
Correct.
every moment in your life. Then
I
you
mean,
can't possibly.
you can't
because
live someone
you
else's
have
idea, right?
lived life before.
And I think that comes down to these points which I mentioned, which is appreciating your everything that you are. Appreciating may be a strong word, but trying to recognize, okay, this is what people consider a quirk, I might enjoy it, or this is what is a shortfall, but it is my shortfall. Let me accept that. This is otherwise we're constantly told to work on our strengths. We have to kind of minimize the weakness. How can we do all of that? Like, how much can we do?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think. You can't really do everything. You have to kind of figure out what you enjoy doing, even in that taking care of yourself aspect of the thing. Like, is it exercise? Is it meditation? Is it yoga? Whatever it is, or journaling.
Or could be sometimes, people, there are certain prescribed ways of living, right? But why?
It's not prescribed. I think it's more suggestions.
But people feel like that. But which is, again, if you keep hearing it from 3-4 sources, you think that's the only way to do it. And that's a very sort of, it's a tough place to be, because
but then
you feel confined to these ways. It's either this way or no way. Someone at my age, at 41, might be amazingly drawn to sports, right? They might be running marathons, they might be climbing mountains. There may be someone my age who might hate those things. They might be averse to exercise, but might just, for them, getting out of bed, maybe going for a 5-minute walk is the best they can do. So that should also be recognized, right?
Yeah, but I think where they're coming from, these people who are suggesting things, is because the people who are listening to it, right, want some ideas on what can give them that. They've not yet figured it out.
They're a bunch of fools, if you ask me.
What?
Because
Who are a bunch of fools?
These people, these idiots. Because it becomes a feedback loop, which then becomes like self-fulfilling. They think that they're the shit. And
who, the ones giving advice?
Yeah, see, they all start out with good intentions. But the problem, this is where it doesn't end there, because the power goes to them.
I don't know about all that, but I feel
the power of influence is a very sick power if you think about it.
It is, but when you're...
So my point is, you said a very good thing about these people, is that you listen to 10 of these books or podcasts, you get ideas.
Yeah, you get ideas and you figure it out yourself, no?
Yeah, but the problem is when the idea crosses over into, it's either this or not.
I mean, we are having a conversation about certain things and what we've learned and what we're thinking and what we're feeling.
Yeah, and that telling people listening, you better do what we do and tell, because that's the only way to live life.
But what I'm saying is, like, even they are doing the same thing of suggesting things. Like I suggested, because it's something that may work for me. So it's up to the person listening to not blindly follow, but to make calculated decisions on what works for them or not.
I know what you're saying and I agree with it, but it's not as simple as just listening. Because sometimes you do feel, and I felt this, that I appreciate spending maybe a minute one day, or maybe 30 seconds another day, or maybe even 25 minutes another day, doing whatever I need to do for myself in the morning, whether it's breathing or whether it's doing some form of chanting or whatever, right? But I've arrived at that through a lot of experimentation.
Exactly.
Yeah. But here's the thing. You just want to hear what you want and agree with that. I have more to say. There are days when I feel, oh my God, I have to do it because this is what people do. So that pressure doesn't help anyone, because it might not be you. So you say these things like authenticity, right? It all starts from just truly recognizing everything you are and you are not.
I know what you're trying to say, but I do feel like the more people that are out there talking about these things, the more people are able to listen and feel different things and explore different things, because not everybody is equipped to think that this is the right way to do it. And also, a majority of people have felt that meditation has helped them, felt that exercise has helped them. So if it's kind of, even scientifically, chemically, if it is something that is shown, proven to help people, then people can suggest it. So it's up to you to try out these multiple different ways and see what works for you. And if it works, it works. But I do understand what you're saying about the pressure you feel. This
is where we wanted to kind of bring this conversation, which is the experts versus influencers. See, firstly, if you're listening right now, we aren't experts in mental health or a better way of living. We're just sharing our story. And if anything you're experiencing mentally, please do find a therapist or a counselor or a psychiatrist and reach out to them, because we aren't in any shape or form trying to tell you how to live your life or take away your or trying to diagnose you or help you in that way, because it's our experience, our story, and that's all we're sharing. Having said that, I want to make the distinction because right now the experts will give you the tools, right? They will tell you this is the various conditions because this is what we've experienced through studying it, being in the field for so many years. Research has shown this, and some might say this is the only way, but there are many people who encourage you to experiment, to make mistakes, to try out. The influencers are the bastards who will say, I went through anxiety, so I know how to overcome it, which is what I'm referring to.
There's a fine line there.
Which is a scary line which they cross very often. And that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Because when you tell people that you are helpless without viewing my content on these topics and taking away the ability of a person or taking away their strength to look at themselves, to evaluate everything that they are and they're not, and saying, I'll show, that is a scary slope we're kind of
So I
slipping
think
down.
to further explain what you're saying is like there are some people that will do one course online for like 20 hours and claim to be an expert,
Even
like
now,
a counselor.
yoga, there are people who get certified in 1 week.
Yeah, so
because
is that
that's dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. So to further break down what you're trying to say, and we've kind of started this conversation earlier, is that okay? Like, is it okay to, do you have that responsibility, or is that okay to actually be sharing with people, or is it something that you kind of are learning yourself and keeping, your accolades with you?
I think with certain, and with everything, like as I said about Vishnu, with the years he spent teaching people yoga, he said each client is different. On a different day, in a different moment, they are different. I have to understand their body, their state of mind, their ability on that day, their energy. So if you learn yoga and get certified in 1 week, you think that if you can't do a headstand, then you're not worth teaching. So now when you do a group class of 20 people, one person's 15, another person's 80, and you have everything in between. And if you try to push everyone to do that headstand, you're going to hurt someone. Now, if you take that example to a broader set of things, whether it's telling people what kind of exercise to do, what kind of food to eat, what kind of life to live, what kind of thing to invest your money in, markets-wise, you are going to end up hurting people.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason why is you're telling them they're not strong enough to understand on their own. Now, they can come to you and hear your story and you can talk about it and you can genuinely say, this is what I've experienced.
And this is what has helped me in so many ways.
Yeah, but by no way, and beyond that, I don't know how to tell people that figure it out.
Yeah,
because
but
people
then
don't want to figure it out. That's another weird thing.
Yeah, they want to be just told.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, how much is good enough? Like, if I'm doing yoga with somebody, if I'm listening to a nutritionist, for example, like, how do I evaluate and judge? So I think it's very important to evaluate and judge the person you're listening to, and don't listen to any Tom, Dick and Harry on social media. But like, it's difficult not to, on the one hand, but on the other hand, how do you evaluate and judge these people so that you know what you're doing or not? Because like, say for example, I want to lose weight or something, right? Or PCOD. Like, they will make it seem like, okay, you do this, 100% your PCOD will
You have PTSD.
Sandeep, your PCOD will 100% be...
Mine? Oh, okay, sorry.
Don't try your stupid comedy.
Okay, finish your PCOS.
So if somebody is telling me that, like, they have some evidence to show that it's worked for them, but who knows what the other repercussions are, or if, that will actually help me, it may cause something else. Like, so how do you evaluate and how do you judge whether you should
And also
listen to
the thing is
person
that why they have it might be very different from why you have it. I mean, the circumstance.
Exactly.
No, like there's this YouTube guy it's called The Blind Life, right? He's got a similar eye condition to mine, but he doesn't tell you how. I mean, he tells you these are things that can help you live your best blind life. That's one of his taglines. But he reviews stuff. He doesn't tell you this will, and that kind of information helps you, right? Saying, okay, this cane, he talks about it from his point of view or lack of, and he reviews different gadgets, or he looks at certain technology that's come out. So he's an influencer for the blind, for a blind person, but in no way is he saying now that this will solve your blindness. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
So how do you, and I think as a viewer of this content, as a consumer of this content, I think we all have to be aware. There's a guy called Ben Greenfield, right? He's a health he runs a health podcast called Ben Greenfield Fitness. So in this now, and the amount of depth he goes into, whether it comes to cardiovascular, whether it comes to like VO2 max, or it comes to like nutrition or mushroom coffee, whatever. And like you can really go down the rabbit hole. Like you can really go down into vast amounts of information.
And you can get information that answer that question and
but
prove
again,
it basically.
Yeah, again, there's a guy called Andrew Huberman who runs this podcast, like Huberman Labs, and he tells you, wake up in the morning, do these things. So he's a PhD or a researcher at Stanford. So he's got that, the accolades. But again, when is it just because he's from Stanford, it makes him worthwhile, or is it because it's proven? So again, while we did make the distinction between experts and influencers, I tell you what upsets me about influencers is that they so quickly can change their tone without accountability.
Yeah. But can I give an example of how I have decided on something?
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken me time. So I think one is that it takes a lot of time. So with Shasa and her sleep, right? Like you listen to so many people because she's still not sleeping in the night. And you listen to so many people saying different things, like whether it's feed her in the night, whether she's, do skin to skin, or whether it is connect with your child, or whether it is the wake windows. Like there are so many different ways that can happen, but I've been through all of it. But what kind of kept pulling me back was going with the flow. And it felt very natural for me, and it felt like it was my body saying, just go with the flow, like or the way I work with it. And I feel like that has reduced my anxiety, that like that gut instinct or whatever. So I feel like any decision that you're making, you can, and it's so much more easier to go through this part of life with her by knowing that, okay, it's more aligned with who I am as a person and what kind of life I want to lead and the choice that I want to make. So I think like it's about evaluating all these options. So say if it's a nutritionist on social media saying like 100 different things, like is that something that will work for you? Is that something that will work in your household? Is that something that you can afford? I think there's so many different variations that you can consider.
Absorb the information and process it. You can't just consume without contemplation.
Yes. I think we've solved the problem.
Yeah, on that note, you must subscribe, prescribe, fall at our feet and call us God and Goddess because, man, we changed your life.
But I love that.
We say no explicit content. I apologize if you're watching this with your family or you're viewing this with your better half or whichever half.
No, but I really, really love the idea of just going with your gut and going with instinct and going with your intuition and it kind of aligning with the universe and the path that the universe has laid out for you. There's some beauty to that, even though it may sound so like, airy. There's no like.
When you start talking like that, no, it's meant to sound far-fetched. People be like, "Oh, dude, yeah," but it's not. So I think we should. That's something we talk about in another episode. Because,
but I love that.
Yeah, it doesn't get worse when you trust the universe.
Oh my goodness.
Hacky. On that note, I think we should wind up and say goodbye to the lovely folks who've given us their time. Thank you, as always, for being a part of this podcast with us. We try to become more curious about our lives, about the things that we experience through these conversations. So if any of these things that we've spoken about resonate with you, please do drop a comment. Share this with people who you think are in a place where they want to listen to this kind of stuff. Thanks.
Thank you.
You have to have a cup of coffee. I don't understand your obsession with coffee, and then you make it a big deal when others have certain quirks. Like you're like, oh my God, you have to have your beer by 7 o'clock, otherwise what will happen to it? But you're exactly like that with coffee.
No,
I can't do anything without my cup of coffee.
No, I didn't say. No.
Like every time we go somewhere at like 4:35, you almost become like a single-minded focus, like a attack drone honeybee, Coffee.
It's at least not the worst thing in the world.
I mean, there are a lot of studies now showing that coffee is as...
in excess.
Yeah, I mean, you have like 6 cups a day.
No, 2.
No, you have 2 in the morning only.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
3.
In the morning. And plus how many...
No, 3 in total. Anyway.